All right.
Jeffrey, we are live. Are you locked and loaded there, audio wise?
I'm getting cleaned up here.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you just fine.
Uh,
But you have that perplexed look,
yeah,
almost befuddled.
almost befuddled.
Well,
Oh, there you are. Okay.
yeah. Okay, good.
Come on, baby.
I know my filter. I don't have that video filter. Hey, look better filter. At least it's certainly not working today. Anyway, guys, what's going on? Hope you're having a great day so far, wherever you are. This is the look Jeff gets sometimes when I throw in my 28 mile per hour topper. It sits there and he goes, "Oh, I don't know if I can wait this long."
Let's try that again. Try it on.
Anyway,
Okay.
as you're getting organized over there, Jeff, guys, hey, thanks for hanging out again with us today. What's the right shot? Number 414. I think that's the right number. I should double check on this. Sometimes I am redundant with a number. Anyway, 414, and today we're going to look at the topspin serve in general, but specifically, I want to give you an idea of what I got from Tom, the great Mr. Tom Stowe back in the day, about the tossing motion. Something I want you to be thinking about because it made a big difference for me, and I think it will for you as well. In terms of being able to be able to go to those three different targets, right? Yeah. We're going, we go out wide, we go to the body, and we go T. Yesterday, we looked at the T serve. I played that topper from the deuce court, down the T, got up on the guy. And today we're going to look at, out wide and to the body. And I really want to kind of dig into the tossing motion a little bit today, Jeff, if that's copacetic with your with your style of being today. So we'll go through these three serves that I've got, and then I want to let you know what I'm thinking about with the tossing motion. So here's my thought, Jeff. Let me get this out of the way. Is that when I first went to see Tom, my tossing motion was not only abbreviated, meaning that right when the ball left my hand, right about here, my elbow bent and my upper arm just kind of stopped, and all right, maybe the lower part,
a little collapse.
Yeah, it was a big collapse. And so I never really put myself into the ideal swing setup position. I eventually got the toss where I wanted it most of the time, but I never really got into the position to be able to really swing up into the ball. Right. And the other thing too is that I was really fast. Like from right here, it was just like a little pump, like boom, just kind of pumping it up there. And the first thing that Tom mentioned to me was, there's no value in a fast tossing motion. There's just it doesn't do you any good. Yeah, you might get the ball where you want, and you might get the toss placement where you want, and you might end up in the ideal swing setup position with the finish of the tossing motion. But you don't really get any rhythm feeling, because so much of the serve, I think you'd agree, Jeff, is rhythm. Yeah. And it's not a muscle job, right? And so anything that goes fast, and this was when I worked with Tom in the early 80s, he loved McEnroe's serve. He loved that serve because he just said, look, if you look at how slow that tossing motion is, it takes him forever to finish it. He said, but he gets into this ooey gooey setup thing, and then he just goes. And so what I want you to be thinking about is that when you start it, the tossing arm comes down, and it gets to that front thigh, and then it starts going back up. And so once it starts going back up from here, the ball gets released about head high, and then you finish with the arm straight up. is that all needs to be rhythmic. It needs to be with a tempo. And to me, and you're more of a rhythm guy, Jeff, but I'm thinking tempo to me means it's kind of the same speed,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
when you start something, it starts at one speed, the ball releases with the arm going up at the same speed, and you finish. So there's a
Right.
pre-release tempo, ball just leaves, and that tempo stays the same. And for me, what I just kind of feel like is that when I do that, two great things happen. Number one, I really get consistent with where I want the toss to end up. But number two, I finish the tossing motion where I want. So what I guess what I want you guys to work on today is get the bag of 50 balls out there and just feel that you could really go slow here. You could
Yeah.
really go slow. I think a lot of players are so concerned about where the toss is going to end up that they just flick it up there just to be done with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Or the other side of the coin is they micromanage it, and then it's just like you're trying to mechanically time when you release the ball, and it's like, ooh, that gets really icky.
yeah, yeah.
For lack of
Well,
a term.
I mean,
It
look,
gets messy.
if you think about tossing from, and tossing is maybe the wrong word, another misleading word or phrase in the
Yeah.
tennis dictionary. It's not a toss. You're not flicking. You're not throwing. You're actually, for me, I feel like I'm lifting the ball from my shoulder,
Yeah.
and it just comes out of the hand. I don't, there's no right here, a little wrist flick up.
Right.
I don't know what the physics are called, but the ball's got to go up if it's
Right.
not being squeezed. And there you
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I've always, when teaching, tweaking, that part of the motion, the toss part it's a the serve itself is in my view anyway, a slow to fast progression, right? So the front end is exactly as you describe it. It's this slower part where you're building your coil so then you can release it to the ball. Like right there at the peak of your, you release the ball and your left hand keeps going, follow through, if you want to call it that, off
Yeah.
the toss. So there's a moment when you're looking up your arm and you should see the ball and your hand in the frame.
Right.
It should
Right.
still be there, right? And then another thing here, actually, I talked to Dave Darty yesterday. He checked in with me after, because we talked about the serve yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, well, what about, how do I get the toss to my left a little bit to hit the kicker or the top spin, that blah, blah, blah. And then I asked him, like, well, when are you tossing the ball? Because then the revelation was, I have a little trouble getting the regular toss in the same space each time, right? And I said, well, are you tossed, do you have a 2-point stance or do you bring your foot up? He said, well, I bring my foot up. Okay. I go, when are you tossing the ball? He goes, kind of in that transition. I said, well, watching somebody who has a good serve, normally the moment of the toss tends to be a quiet part of the motion, meaning like you're on both feet, you've tossed, then you bring your foot up. And so that's what we talked about yesterday is like, get out there with the bucket and just make sure you're not in transition as you're trying to toss the ball, because now you're creating a forward momentum while releasing the ball, which tends to make the ball want to travel forward.
Well,
right?
I think is too that you want to be behind the ball.
Right.
I mean, you want your body sort of gathering behind the ball. Maybe when we were a lot younger, we could toss behind ourselves, but
right.
that's just not the deal anymore. So
right. So my advice was let's nail down your regular toss first. Can we get that consistent first, and then from there build out to a toss that intentionally you might be putting it to your left a little bit to be able to create a little better angle of attack.
Yeah.
But that moment of the toss, and you look at anybody, tends to be a quiet moment in anybody's, in a good server's motion. And it doesn't matter whether they're a 2-point stance or they bring a foot up. or whatever it might be, that part of the motion tends to be quiet,
Yeah.
or a slight pause, or whatever, however you want to describe it.
Yeah. Good. All right, guys. Yeah, slow tossing motion. Don't rush it.
That's a great inside handcuff serve there too. That serve you just hit there. He caught him handcuffed the last one.
Well, I mean, look, this is my strategy in both singles and doubles is I'm going here to the body most of the time. I just feel like I get shorter returns.
Yeah.
If they come back, and that's why I'm always ending up inside the baseline looking for that short return, because I mean, there's a chance this thing could definitely come back.
Yeah.
But if you handcuff the guy, okay.
Yeah.
I just find that, and I'll tell you something else I've been working on too, is being a little more precise with my body serve when I'm going to the deuce. I mean, when I'm going to the ad court, I actually want to serve it more in here because I want him to have to get out of the way by going in this direction.
Off the court, right?
Off the court. And just the opposite over here. If I'm certain, and I don't care if it's a forehand. In fact, if he gets away and dings a forehand from over here, thank you very much.
Right.
He's just taking time away from himself.
Right.
Conversely, if I'm serving to the deuce court, I'm looking more, if I'm a serve to the body, more towards this side over here. Get him to move off the court. So will I take this? Yeah, I will. Okay. So that's something to be thinking about. So guys, I would tell you this today. Nothing else. Get out there with a bag of 50 balls. Don't hit 50 hard serves, just seeing how big you can hit it. And instead, get out there and work on your tossing motion to where you feel like it's got rhythm, it's got tempo, and it's not rushed. It just really feels that you could gather yourself slowly here and then go. All right. Good.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Dick. Good stuff, guys. Appreciate that. Guys, the other thing I've got, which I've had the last few days, and they're I don't want to sound hypey about it. They're selling like hotcakes. But anyway.
It's Brent's secret hotcake recipe.
Thank you. I've got this laminated card for you. You stick it in your bag. Laminated meaning you can't destroy it. And it's got one side, it's got the 4 parts between points routine as a reminder. Stick it on the bench, pull it out of your bag, stick it on the bench when you're either practicing or playing, and on side changes, just as a quick reminder to be going through the 4 parts between points routine. The other side, though, has got the 7 topspin kick serve cues. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it because, again, like today with a practice session, you can pull out of your bag and you can cherry pick one of them to work on. And even if you go out there and, in the afternoons after you played your morning tennis or something like that, or maybe today you're on your own, you take your bag of balls out there and, you just cherry pick one of these for 15 minutes. Then you come back, pick up the balls, get your little sip of water, and then cherry pick something else. Anyway, 7 topspin kick serve cues. If you're on my email list, you've gotten an email the last couple of days later in the morning. This morning, there should be another email coming out to you that will have the link where you can pick this up. It's only $15. I'm paying for the shipping anywhere on the planet.
Ooh, global reach.
Yes.
Global reach.
God, Thank you. I'll pick up the shipping and handling.
Beautiful. Handling.
Thank you.
I like the idea of one. You pick out one thing, especially if you're playing practice sets. It is near impossible to multitask. I'm not a big fan of that word, actually, except how it relates to, are you picking out the one thing that will, let's say, naturally lead you to the thing that we want to have happen? So that pre thing. So sometimes we get so focused on the one thing is not an island. It doesn't stand alone by itself. In tennis, everything is almost predetermined by the previous move you just made, whether the next thing is going to fall into place. So when you're working on stuff out there, it's great to, do that. Obviously I do that, blah, 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 you do it, but it's pick one thing out. Today I'm going to really try and pay attention to being a little more attentive, more aware of my recovery after I hit. And what that does is that will lead you into then I'm probably paying attention then naturally about a quicker prep, right? And leading it in. So then the progression kind of feeds itself, but pick out one thing because it's too hard to.
Well, here it is. It's right in front of you, Jeff. Why don't you address this?
Just got this from another site. Could you guys go over it next week one day? The 2 tips that took my serve from 90 miles an hour to 120. I guess my first question is it in the box? Is it in the box? And
I know.
I wish, even if my shoulder was healthy, I'm not sure at 64 that I could pump out a 120. I don't know if it requires that.
Well, if you could, you'd probably be the 164-year-old again on the planet that could pump out a 120.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dan.
But Dan's right.
Tips.
And then Dan follows up with 3 tips to 130 would be better, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
So I know Dan's coming at us with a tongue in cheek on that one.
Yeah.
Guys, you got to be careful. I mean, how you up the MPHs to me is not worth the effort because number one, it's not going to be that much more. And if you do, it's going to be rarely consistent. You're probably going to do some damage to your shoulder for a while. But the real thing here that you want is you want to be able to hit these 3 different targets on a consistent basis.
Absolutely.
From pretty much the same setup.
Right.
Right. I mean,
and like we can circle back to the very beginning. You were talking about McEnroe and his setup and his serve, right?
Yeah.
He had one of the most effective serves, not because it was the biggest serve on the tour when he was number 1 and all that. He was the most accurate. That guy could hit a freaking dime in that box and take you off the court, pinch you inside. I mean, incredibly accurate. And then the next guy that came in the series of great servers would be probably Sampras. His ability to hit targets was like, holy moly. But Max genius, the reason his volley was so effective, not only because he had, surgeon's hands, he had such quiet hands when he volleyed, but he could set up his first volley so well with just this hyper accurate first serve.
Yeah. I asked to play some doubles with Rick Meyer earlier, or I guess it was last weekend. And we were done and Ricky played on the tour and he won a singles event. He and Frew McMillan won some doubles events and had beaten Nastasi a couple times and the real deal. And talk about a guy who can still bring it. Now he's 60. He'll be in the 70s next year, first year 70s. And all the guys in the 70s are salivating right now going, Brent, could you give me an intro to Rick, please?
Right.
This guy can bring it. I mean, he can really still bring it.
That's great.
But anyway, so I asked him, I said, when you were playing, who was the toughest guy on you? And he just, without hesitation, he said, McEnroe. And I said, why? And he basically said, because he just said, the guy was super accurate with the serve. And he says, probably the greatest volleyer he'd ever played against. Yeah. So, this is coming from a guy who actually had to, play against him. So anyway,
I think that would be in my top 10 list of things in tennis that you would like to experience. I would love to play a couple sets of doubles with Frew McMillan as my partner.
Oh my God.
I mean, the guy, I talk about the two-handed volley, two-hander off both sides and just carving the ball up at the net, watching him work. It's like, holy crap, I'd love to play and be side next to him watching him do this stuff.
Well,
It's like,
and Rick
holy
just said
moly.
he just said it seemed like he saw the game in slow motion.
Yeah,
He said balls just came to him, even they were just laser beam, but it looked like the way
yeah.
he
It.
prepared, and there was just absolutely
Right.
no
Yeah.
tension at all.
Yeah.
And he said he could he could redirect stuff
Oh,
to parts of the court where you just go,
yeah.
wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that geometry existed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just these quick little knockdowns, boom, done, out. I mean, that was one of the most favorite things about going to see, back in the day of, original team tennis and going, the Oakland Coliseum to see the Golden Gators was like, I hope Frew is playing tonight,
Right.
playing dubs tonight, because I gotta watch that. It's the best ever,
How about the cap?
And the cap.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, dang it.
Yeah. It's like,
all right, guys.
talk about making you feel like, is he taking this seriously?
That's right. Well, I got a stogie on side changes.
Oh,
going.
yeah.
Anyway. Look, guys, hope this has been helpful today. Get out there, 50 bag of balls, slow, rhythmic tempo, tossing motion, start to all the way to the finish, and work on it. I think what you'll find is that number one is that your toss placement consistency will get a whole lot better. But I think when we start off relaxed, we tend to not clench on the racket and get strong and muscle up. Everything just kind of stays relaxed. It stays more rhythmic. But anyway, look, any questions, any comments, remarks down below in the comments area, let me know. Be happy to read and respond to those. Love to do that. If you want to keep the conversation private, you may do so. You may do so though at those email addresses right there. Brent at WebTennis.com. Jeff's over at Jeff at Jacklich365.com. Guys, thanks for hanging out this morning. It's time. We got to get out there. Got to help someone else have a spectacular day. Guys, see you again next time.